happy, and as Ralph Robinson explains, the Pentagon is also showing lots of interest in this project.
A leaked FBI video has been linked to the tragic death of Stanley Meyer. Meyer was the inventor of a water-powered car.
Water is now fed into the resident cavity through this water tank, and as such, we now expose the water to a very high intense pulse voltage field.
His life ended suddenly after uttering chilling last words. His invention could have literally changed the world, but he was silenced. Was the innovation too dangerous to live? Join us as we take a deep dive into the mystery surrounding Meyer's controversial invention and shocking death. Who was Stanley Meyer? Over the years, a bunch of game-changing technologies have been suppressed by authorities. Their inventors have been forced to hide in the shadows. In the end, these technologies never managed to achieve their true potential. Why? Simply because they threatened the interests of corporations and big industries. Nefarious groups have always tried to stop new ideas that could benefit humanity. They do this only in order to maintain their grip on power and profit. These promising yet discarded innovation ideas ranged from energy and transportation to medicine and communication. One such idea suppressed was the invention of Stanley Meyer. Stan challenged the usual ways of producing energy. His invention was a threat to those in power. Born on August 24, 1940, Stanley was a visionary inventor and entrepreneur. This was the man who dedicated his life to harnessing the power of water as a sustainable fuel. Meyer was one half of two twin boys. His brother Stephen was his partner in both life and work. The brothers frequently collaborated on innovative projects, including Stan's water buggy project.
Let's hook up the distributor and just rotate the engine because I want to see what it looks like at the same pulse.
Just testing to see if all the injectors are firing, and they are firing.
I'm actually turning it manually. Watch it fire, okay? And you can see right here. This one has an injector, that has an injector, that has an injector. Now I'm going to turn it the way the car normally runs. Okay?
Stanley Meyer had an imposing figure. He was very tall, with an estimated height of 6 feet 3 inches. His voice was said to have boomed like thunder. His charisma was absolutely undeniable. He also had a rare gift for connecting with people from all walks of life. During Stanley's formative years, he resided on the eastern side of Columbus, Ohio. His family then relocated to Grandview Heights. This was where his curious nature became clear at a young age. Stan ended up having 200,000 patents to his name. His work spanned various fields, from automotive innovation to aerospace technology. His work range was incredible. His contributions to the Gemini space program showcase his genius. He made significant advancements in cardiac monitoring equipment, oceanography, and validating banking systems. He then went to a renowned research and development organization in Ohio called Battelle Foundation. Stan's time at Battelle Foundation very likely influenced his work in science and technology. There is a really interesting anecdote about Meyer's eccentric personality. The Grove City Police once called him about a suspicious package at his home laboratory. The Columbus bomb squad was called in only to discover that the package contained scientific equipment Meyer had ordered. This incident shows us his quirky side. There was no explicit mention of Stan being eccentric, but we can easily see it in his unconventional work. His friends also often recalled Stan's beloved catchphrase, "Praise the Lord and pass the ammunition." This was a line that perfectly encapsulated his firm faith and quirky nature. Stanley Meyer's life took a fascinating turn when he appeared at Hughes's doorstep in the late 1970s. Interestingly, he came to them saying the words, "The Lord sent me." Julia Hughes, then a child, remembered the encounter vividly. Meyer's inventive spirit and conviction drew her family in, leading to a years-long collaboration. Stan's futuristic projects didn't always pan out, but Charles Hughes remained a loyal supporter. Hughes was taken by Meyer's steadfastness and ingenuity. So, what was the catalyst that gave birth to the concept that changed his life forever? In response to the 1973 oil embargo, marked by a trade embargo and surging oil prices, Stanley decided to go on a mission to find innovative fuel solutions. He became obsessed with the idea of using the power of water as a sustainable fuel. After years of trial and error, Stanley claimed to have successfully created a machine that could run entirely on water. Yeah, it sounds like science fiction, but hey, that's what geniuses do.
The top our news here at 6 o'clock.
Sounds like Back to the Future.
Becoming a reality. A local inventor has discovered a way, hear this, to use water to run your car.
It's a major breakthrough that will no doubt make motorists happy. And as Ralph Robinson explains, the Pentagon is also showing lots of interest in this project.
I'm sure they are.
Water has always been considered a precious commodity, but Stan Meyer's invention may make it even more valuable. He has developed what's called a water fuel cell. It has taken the place of his old gas tank. The water fuel cell breaks down.
His invention, the water fuel cell, used electrolysis to separate water into hydrogen and oxygen, which was then burned in an internal combustion engine to produce water vapor. Stanley demonstrated his water-powered dune buggy on an Ohio television station. He boasted how the buggy could travel from Los Angeles to New York on just 22 gallons of water.
That if we take the dune buggy from Los Angeles to New York, we would roughly use 22 gallons of water.
The Pentagon flew a lieutenant colonel in last week to look at Meyer's invention. There's talk of possibly using it in the Star Wars defense program and to run army tanks. Myers is currently perfecting a water fuel cell for cars. It will cost about $1,500. He says it won't need any maintenance and you won't have to replace it. It'll be at least 2 years before the fuel system goes into mass production. The day it happens will be one the fuel industry hates.
The water fuel cell. Meyer's breakthrough invention, the water fuel cell, was a small device that used electrical energy to split water into its basic components, hydrogen and oxygen. With Meyer's water fuel cell, the phrase burning water takes on a whole new meaning. The genius behind this contraption lay in its claim to require minimal energy input. This factor made it a highly efficient and sustainable method of producing fuel. The water fuel cell was the core of Meyer's H2O car. This was a converted dune buggy that allegedly ran solely on water as its fuel source. How cool is that? In 1995, Meyer presented this vehicle to the world, a vehicle that could supposedly cover significant distances on a minimal amount of water. Meyer claimed he drove over 100 miles on just 1 gallon of tap water. However, by exploring alternative fuel sources, Stanley Meyer dared to challenge the status quo. Little did he know, he was stepping on the toes of those big traditional oil companies. You can bet they weren't thrilled about it. But how did this magical device work? The water fuel cell apparently split water into hydrogen and oxygen. This was then burned to generate energy, reconstituting the water molecules in the process. Meyer's device used less energy to do electrolysis than conventional science said it should. Meyer used the term fuel cell in a different way than most people do. Usually, fuel cells make electricity from a chemical reaction. Instead, his fuel cell consumed electricity to split water into hydrogen and oxygen. The implications of Meyer's invention were profound. If it worked as specified, it would violate both the first and second laws of thermodynamics. It would violate the laws as it would allow operation as a perpetual motion machine. This raised eyebrows in the scientific community. Some even dismissed the claims as pseudoscience. Despite the controversy, Meyer's invention gained tons of interest and amazement. Meyer's water fuel cell was demonstrated to a panel of esteemed experts.
Over here, there's very unique design features that had to be developed in order to develop the water fuel cell as a retrofit energy systems to conventional cars. We had to go ahead and develop the laser, what we call the laser distributor, as you see right here, which is put between the conventional rotor cap and that of the rotor assembly. And primarily what this does, this sets up the electronic signals. It goes back and triggers the
Do you ever feel like
to run successfully on hydrogen.
This panel included Professor Michael Lawton, Admiral Sir Anthony Griffin, and Dr. Keith Hindley. Stanley presented a series of impressive trials. He showed them how the cell produced a surprisingly large amount of hydrogen and oxygen gas, despite using only milliamps of electricity and pure water. This was a groundbreaking achievement. Unlike traditional electrolysis, Meyer's cell remained remarkably cold. Even after hours of continuous operation, they remained in the original state. This was a sharp contrast to conventional methods. The witnesses were thoroughly impressed by the cell's exceptional efficiency and control, and noted that it seemed to defy conventional scientific explanations. Meyer's ingenious invention utilized a unique combination of high-voltage pulses and resonance to split water into its component parts, a process that was previously thought to be impossible. The cell's electrodes, made of stainless steel, were precisely spaced to optimize gas production, demonstrating Meyer's meticulous attention to detail. The demonstration showcased the cell's remarkable capabilities, producing a significant amount of gas. Yes, enough to sustain a flame that could melt steel. The witnesses were convinced that Meyer had discovered a new method for splitting water and that his invention had the potential to revolutionize energy production. Meyer's claims were extensively supported by his collection of granted U.S. patents, which had been rigorously tested and verified by experts over the course of 3 years. The level of innovation and precision that went into Meyer's work was truly impressive. The fact that his cell could produce enough gas to melt steel was astonishing. And with his parents having been thoroughly tested and verified by experts, it was clear that his claims were backed by solid science. He was truly onto something revolutionary. It's a shame that his work wasn't more widely recognized and built upon. His invention had the potential to provide a clean, efficient, and sustainable source of energy, a breakthrough that could change the world. So, why don't we all know about this revolutionary technology? Why aren't we using it to power our cars and reduce our dependence on fossil fuels? The answer lies in the suppression of innovative technologies and the role of corporate interests in shaping our energy landscape. Skepticism and media coverage. As Meyer's invention gained attention, it also gathered intense skepticism and controversy. The controversy was like a debate between believers and skeptics. Each of them were waiting for the other to blink. Many experts questioned the validity of his claims. They cited the laws of thermodynamics as a major obstacle to achieving the levels of energy efficiency promised. The lack of detailed technical specifications and peer-reviewed studies only added fuel to the fire. The scientific community was largely skeptical of Stanley Meyer's claims. It seemed that his technology was not widely accepted. Apparently, many experts remained unconvinced by his assertions, citing the implausibility of his methods. It is believed that his claims of resonating water molecules at low frequencies were not supported by scientific evidence.
Well, I've been designing very recently to operate off of non-leaded gasoline.
Then there was the whole thing about his technology contradicting fundamental laws of thermodynamics. Furthermore, Meyer's electrolysis cell was found to be no more efficient than conventional cells, which means that his claims of achieving high efficiency were likely exaggerated. It appears that his technology did not live up to his promises, and many experts were left, in simple words, unimpressed. Although some people continued to believe in his invention, the majority of the scientific community seemed to reject his claims. Philip Ball, writing in Nature, dismissed Meyer's claims as pseudoscience. Ball highlighted the impossibility of splitting water using less energy than was released by recombination. The article labeled Meyer's assertions as another water-as-fuel urban legend. Meyer's water-fuel dreams were left high and dry by Philip Ball's critique. On the bright side, Meyer's idea didn't sink without a fight, but sadly, it didn't quite float either, not for long at least. In 1996, Meyer faced allegations of fraud from 2 investors who had purchased dealerships. They were promised the opportunity to do business in water fuel cell technology.
don't care if you use rainwater, well water, city water, ocean water. If you don't have any fresh water.
Michael Lofton, a professor of electrical engineering at Queen Mary, University of London, was set to inspect Meyer's car. This was a part of the legal process. However, Meyer provided what Professor Lofton called a lame excuse on the day of the examination. The test was not permitted to continue. After determining Meyer guilty of gross and egregious fraud, the court ordered him to pay back $25,000 to the two investors. The skepticism surrounding Meyer's invention was further fueled by the lack of scientific evidence supporting his claims. There have been no investigations of Meyer's inventions that have been published in the scientific literature or subjected to a peer review process. Despite the controversy, Meyer's invention remained a topic of interest and debate. Some believe that his technology had the potential to revolutionize the way we think about energy production, while others dismiss it as a clever scam. Maybe Meyer was just a passionate entrepreneur who got ahead of himself? Perhaps he saw a solution to the world's energy problems and couldn't wait for the slow pace of scientific validation. Okay, so he didn't follow the traditional scientific method, but did that necessarily mean he was trying to deceive? What if he just wanted to prove the doubters wrong and show that his invention could change the world? Of course, that was no excuse for taking investors' money without delivering, but it's worth considering that he may have genuinely believed in his vision. After all, history was full of innovators who were initially really ridiculed for their ideas. Sadly, he couldn't live long enough to justify his claims or prove his skeptics wrong, a tragic end to a story that could have been a revolutionary chapter in energy history. Stanley Meyer's death. 2 years after being accused of fraud in 1996, Stanley Meyer's life took a tragic turn. On March 20th, 1998, he passed away suddenly while dining at a restaurant. His brother, Stephen, reported that Meyer had been meeting with two Belgian investors when he suddenly clutched his throat and exclaimed, "They poisoned me." The circumstances surrounding Stanley Meyer's death are nothing short of a twisted mystery. The sudden onset of symptoms, the claim of poisoning, and the presence of Belgian investors all contributed to the increasing mystery around the case. The fact that Meyer's life was marked by controversy only adds to the whole enigma. His final words, "They poisoned me," left a haunting question. What really happened to him? Despite the dramatic claim, the investigation into Meyer's death found no evidence of poisoning. The coroner's report concluded that Meyer died from a cerebral aneurysm, a condition he had been suffering from due to high blood pressure. This finding was supported by toxicology tests, which detected no traces of poison in Meyer's body. Meyer's death was met with shock and sadness from those who knew him and followed his work. His brother, Stephen, was particularly affected, recalling the eerie reaction of the Belgian investors when informed of Meyer's passing. Despite the official ruling on his passing, many people continue to speculate about the circumstances surrounding Meyer's final moments. However, there is currently no concrete evidence to support claims of foul play or poisoning. The conspiracy theories. The death of Stanley Meyer ended up giving birth to tons of conspiracy theories. Some believe he was murdered by agents working for Big Oil to prevent his technology from becoming commercially available. While some experts have questioned the validity of his invention, many others believe that his technology worked and that he was silenced to protect the interests of the oil industry. Many people believe Stanley Meyer's life was ended due to his revolutionary water-powered car invention. According to his brother Stefan, Meyer took a sip of cranberry juice at a restaurant, grabbed his neck, and vomited violently, saying, "They poisoned me," before dying. The official investigation concluded that Meyer died from a cerebral aneurysm, but many still suspect foul play. Meyer's invention had attracted the attention of governments and mysterious overseas visitors who wanted to buy it, but he refused to sell it. Meyer reportedly received numerous offers of millions of dollars to sell out or sit on it.
In the wintertime, you're dealing with a liquid gasoline or liquid diesel fuel, and you have problems in starting.
But the exact nature of these offers was covered in mystery. It's said that these offers came from various sources, including Arabs and Belgians, but their true motivations remained unclear. Some speculated that Meyer's inventions were highly valuable and sought after, while others believed the offers were attempts to silence him. Meyer's home was allegedly visited by strange individuals, including men in turbans and army officials. According to some accounts, the men in turbans offered Meyer $250 million to stop his work, but it's unknown whether this was a genuine offer or a tactic to intimidate him, or whether it happened at all. There were rumors that the army officials were interested in Meyer's technology for military applications, but this was never confirmed either. It's said that Meyer's inventions, including the dune buggy, were hidden away for years. A longtime friend of Meyer's was reportedly reluctant to show the buggy, fearing that people would bother him about the invention, but his true concerns remained unknown. Some believe his invention worked, while others were deeply skeptical due to the inefficient process of electrolysis. However, Meyer's passing still raises suspicions, especially considering the potential threat his invention posed to the oil industry. Investigating Stanley Meyer's demise, it's challenging to find information on poisons that specifically cause cerebral aneurysms. Targeting the blood vessels around the brain is crucial, making it a complex process. Meyer's statement, "They poisoned me," is also questionable, considering his altered state during the aneurysm.
Whether or not the military or NASA or the federal government will utilize the technology, they can utilize it in any way they so.
The date of Meyer's passing is disputed, with some sources claiming March 27th, but the coroner's report and toxicology report indicate March 20th. Stephen Meyer, Stanley's brother, recalls the events of that evening, describing Stanley's sudden illness and final words. However, Stephen has not spoken publicly about the coroner's report or the cause of death, leading some to wonder if he has been scared into silence. The investigation into Meyer's death was extensive, but the coroner's report concluded that he died from a brain aneurysm. Despite this, conspiracy theories surrounding his death persist. The two Belgian investors, who were with Meyer on the night of his death, showed no reaction to the news of his passing, which has raised suspicions. Their identities have been confirmed through interviews with Meyer's family members. The circumstances of Meyer's death remain intriguing, with many questions still unanswered. The Water Engine. Meyer's story has been compared to the play The Water Engine by David Mamet, which tells the story of an inventor who creates a water-powered engine and faces opposition from powerful interests. The parallels between Stanley Meyer's story and David Mamet's play The Water Engine are striking. Both narratives revolve around an inventor who creates a revolutionary technology that threatens to upend the status quo. In the play, the inventor creates a water-powered engine.
The development on the technology centered around also the development.
Well, personally, I think Stanley was murdered.
Control.
While Meyer claimed to have invented a water-powered car.
But
In
then
both
again, that's
stories,
just my
the
opinion.
inventor faces fierce opposition from powerful interests who seek to suppress the technology. In The Water Engine, the inventor is confronted by ruthless industrialists who want to maintain their grip on the energy market. Similarly, some believe that Meyer's invention was real and that he was killed to prevent it from disrupting the oil industry. The comparison suggests that Meyer's story may be more than just a conspiracy theory. It may be a real-life example of the lengths to which powerful interests will go to maintain their control over the energy market. Just as the inventor in The Water Engine is silenced by the industrialists, Meyer's life was cut short under mysterious circumstances. The similarity between the two stories raises questions about the role of power and greed in suppressing innovation. If Meyer's invention was real, did the oil industry have a hand in his death? Was he a victim of a larger conspiracy to maintain the status quo? If Meyer's water-powered car was real and functional, it would have posed a significant threat to the oil industry. It would have disrupted fuel sales, leading to a loss of market share, rendering infrastructure obsolete, challenging energy dominance, and impacting global geopolitics. The oil industry, which has long been the dominant player in the energy market, might see such a technology as a threat to their profits, power, and influence. This would lead them to take drastic measures to suppress it, which is the core of the conspiracy theory surrounding Meyer's life and death. However, skeptics argue that Meyer's claims violate the laws of physics, and that his invention was not scientifically possible. They point out that hydrogen is a highly explosive gas, and that containing it is a significant challenge. Despite the controversy surrounding Meyer's death and invention, his legacy lives on. Some companies are now selling kits that allow consumers to supplement their gasoline fuel with chemical energy extracted from water, which they claim can improve fuel mileage. The debate over Meyer's invention and death continues, with some believing that he was a pioneer who was silenced by powerful interests, while others see him as a charlatan who made false claims. The conspiracy surrounding Stanley...
Well, all I can say is make up your own mind. But I'm pretty sure that if he was able to do this, he was definitely killed.